Establishing detention centers for illegal aliens. They're not talking to the people about it. You don't get a hearing. You don't get to have a say. And furthermore, what you need to understand is that while everyone is focused very much on the unaccompanied minor situation, that is 20% of the humanity that is right now in detention centers along the border and being bussed throughout the country. So our responsibility is not to look at a small portion of a problem, but the 100% overall whole of the problem. Furthermore, when it comes to the situation of establishing a detention center, now I have talked with officials in other cities and counties where this is happening and has happened without any input from the local community, such as you've been able to have here tonight. What I have learned, I'm going to go a little over time here. What I have learned is that they don't get to say who comes into their community. They do not get to dictate to the federal agencies that we only want children. We don't want gang affiliated. We don't want large groups of adults, because everyone feels and their compassion is for the children, but you don't get to dictate that to the federal agencies. They will send people into your community as they see fit in order to provide a release valve for the overcrowding that's happening at the border right now. So you don't get to say that it's only children and everyone feels really good about helping children. But that's not. That is 20% of the humanity right now that is incarcerated along the border. So what you're really dealing with are men and women who are not turning themselves in to Border Patrol. You're dealing with people who are trying to take advantage of the situation that 70% of Border Patrol is occupied with processing these children and these women with their children, and taking their eyes off of the line, and these men are not turning themselves in. They're not turning themselves in because they don't want to be caught. Now what's happening is the federal government has a shroud of secrecy over every camp and every detention center. The representatives of the people are not being allowed in. That means, and that should tell you right away, that something is seriously wrong. Now, I want to also say something, because people have mentioned that we have an obligation, and as a governance issue, you're right, this is not political, and frankly, we don't have the luxury of looking at it politically, because the crisis is happening right now, and if we allow the crisis to crash over our heads, we are forced into crisis management, which is exactly what the feds are doing right now, and they're bumbling it every step of the way. So we have to predict the future by looking at past performance. And all of the communities around us, did you know that since 2012, there has been a detention facility in Lynchburg, little bitty Lynchburg. People from Lynchburg have been writing saying, nobody's listening to us. You don't even understand what's happened to our community since this detention center opened up in Lynchburg. Right up there by I-10. There's now one in Oyster Creek. There's 3 in Conroe. They're trying to put one in Galveston. It is moving in, and if we don't look to it, then we abdicate our responsibility as a council in the same way that your state legislator is abdicating their responsibility to you as Texans right now. Now, what everyone has talked about tonight is compassion. Nobody has talked about governance, and nobody that is opposing this resolution has talked about the rule of law. So I wanted to let you know that at the very beginning of the resolution, if you haven't seen it for yourself, I established that the citizens of League City, Texas, recognize their duty as law-abiding citizens to act in accordance with the U.S. Constitution and the Texas Constitution, and agree that their right to life, liberty, and property shall not be infringed. Whereas the federal government has failed to protect the country in accordance with Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, Texas has the right and obligation to protect its citizens in accordance with Article 1, Section 1 of the Texas Constitution. The rest of it is there for you to read. Now, I need to point something out to you. There is a law that the federal government is ignoring because they don't have to prosecute themselves for a felony. That same protection is not available to us on council as local government, nor is it available to you. So I'd like to read to you the words of this law. A person, including a group of persons, business, organization, or local government, commits a federal felony when they assist an alien whom you should reasonably know is illegally in the U.S. by transporting, sheltering, or assisting him to obtain employment. Further, knowingly assist illegal aliens due to personal convictions. Then it goes through a list of penalties, and they are severe. Again, the federal government will not hold itself to its own laws. Right now, the federal government is entirely lawless. That is not something that I'm willing to allow into League City, for them to bring their lawlessness, their chaos, into League City. Because right now, you don't know what's happening inside those detention centers. They want to make sure you don't know. That's why they're threatening the medical staff with arrest if any word were to come out of those detention facilities. Last thing that I want to point out is that it is illegal, this is the law that your feds are ignoring right now. It is illegal for nonprofit and religious organizations to knowingly assist an employer to violate employment sanctions, regardless of claims that their convictions require them to assist aliens. Harboring or aiding illegal aliens is not protected by the First Amendment. And there's two more of enforcement, which is not happening, and penalties. Now, while they have that luxury, while the feds have the luxury of throwing their weight around, that doesn't cover you. It doesn't cover us. And again, it goes back to the very language. The resolution has language that does not focus on barring our doors to children, not giving people water. It has to do with barring the federal government from bringing their ill-gotten, ill-managed, mismanaged chaos, along with everything that goes with it. No proper health screenings, no background checks, and they're not tracking where these people are coming from or where they're going. I spoke with a state representative. They have a location in Conroe. 1,000 people come in through the front door. 800 people go right out the back door into the Conroe and the Woodlands community, and they have no idea what happens to them after that. Now, the feds are going to tell you that while we're following I know, this is important, and these people are all here, that we're following immigration process, and that is nothing could be further from the truth. Handing a permiso to someone that you know that will not come back for an immigration process is not following the law. Now, the fact that our feds are lawless does not mean that League City is lawless. We have a commitment to our U.S. Constitution and our Texas State Constitution, and we abide by that, and we demand that our federal government abides by it. And while they can't, they will not be allowed to establish operations for holding and abusing and exploiting a humanitarian situation, not in League City. Thank you.
In regards to this item, for me, the concept of supporting a resolution in defiance of federal law, utilizing local police power in any manner necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Lake City is frightening, unobtainable, and unrealistic. One enormous obstacle is CCISD's legal obligation to provide education, regardless of immigration status, to 12 cities in Galveston County, Harris County, the City of Houston, and unincorporated areas that attend a variety of educational facilities and events in Lake City. I believe that local attempts to restrict public access violates federal laws and is an insurmountable task given the connectivity and mobility of modern society. I think Lake City's new mantra is attempting to broadcast a Ruby Ridge reputation of accusing criminal wrongdoing against government by refusing federal directives to gin up a movement of defiance. Lake City has $150,000 of new gateway signage that I voted against to debut our new slogan. Welcome to Lake City. You have been arrested. This is not my vision of modern civilized society. Furthermore, some experts have said this resolution will not stand the test of law. A legal expert with the South Texas College of Law has reported that cities do not have the legal right to tell the federal government what they can and cannot do in the area of immigration, since federal government laws trump everything else. The directives, in my opinion, contained within the ordinance are illegal. They are unenforceable, no consequences for noncompliance, and embarrassing to Lake City's reputation. I will not support this ordinance.
Mayor, I'd like to first ask that our city attorney explain to everyone what the term police powers means, because it's been bandied about here, including by a member of council, in an improper way. So if we could for a moment, could we have our city attorney explain the term police power as it's used in this document?
What I can generally say, council member, is that police power can take on many different aspects. It does not necessarily involve the use of the law enforcement agencies of the city. It can involve a variety of functions at the municipal level, including zoning, subdivision, platting. All these methods and all these processes are considered to be under the umbrella of police power.
Thank you, Mr. Blanco. As far as the legality of this measure, I can assure you folks that this document has been very carefully vetted by our city attorney. Further, I see that this is a very polarizing issue. There's a lot of folks here speaking for, there's a lot of folks speaking against. This is not an issue to be decided by emotion, and I'm hearing a lot of emotion here. This is an issue which must be decided by reason and logic. Now, obviously, everyone up here, everyone in this room has a lot of compassion for children in dire circumstances. But for those of you who are opposed to this, I have to ask you to think again. Because if we don't do something like this, if we continue to facilitate, if we continue to enable something that's been created by incompetent folks in Washington, D.C., because that's what's happening. There's no sudden increase in violence in Central America. Central America has always been a pretty violent place, and it hasn't changed much. This situation has been created by our federal government, and now they want us to spend $4 billion of your tax dollars to keep it going. But think about these kids. If we decide that this is okay, and we facilitate their staying, we facilitate anything other than putting them on the same planes and buses that are flying them to California and other places, instead of putting them on transport and sending them directly back home, you're sending the message to the world that our borders are open, our borders are porous. You're going to encourage more of these children to be exposed to physical harm and possibly death. So that's the logical way to approach this, folks. If we don't stop it now, if we don't stand up, if we don't say that we're not going to take this, all you're actually doing is putting children at much greater risk. So if you're really compassionate look at the issues and do the logical thing and say, this is wrong, it's a manufactured crisis, and we need to put a stop to it as soon as possible, and think about all those other thousands, maybe tens of thousands of children that may be encouraged by this if we don't act appropriately and put themselves in harm's way. Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Bentley?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for everybody coming today. What a great country this is, that we have an opportunity to express our feelings, either for or against this resolution. I personally am for this resolution. I think this is very brave of League City to go ahead and do this. My fellow council member Heidi Teese has said it so well, I'm not going to repeat. I also thank, ma'am, you were very eloquent in what you had to say. I appreciate everybody that came up, either for or against. I broke my writing hand, so I couldn't take very many notes, so I'm going to just kind of try to remember what some of you have said. This body is elected to take care of the citizens of League City. I believe that's what we're doing, the health and welfare and safety of the citizens of League City. That includes our children, our elders, and everybody else here. That's what we're trying to do. By putting a detention center here creates a magnet for those who think that they can just come in here and get whatever they want. We can't. We have to take care of our own first. The churches will even tell you that. You have to take care of your own first. There are, and I'm not saying I would give these people water. I have passion and compassion for what is going on. But as a body, I believe we are responsible for the citizens of League City. Most of you know that I'm an activist. I try to keep abreast of things that are going on. I read all these stories. I see all these stories. There is something terrible going on with our federal government and allowing all these people to come into our country. We need to close the border. Close the border. We are a nation of laws. These laws are being broken every day. This is, I believe, just one way to stop that. Thank you for coming.
Ms. Dawson?
Well, golly, it got to be my turn pretty fast, didn't it? I'm not going to talk necessarily about the vote, but I just want to tell all of you what wonderful people you are to come and pour your heart out to us about your beliefs, your core beliefs. This is the League City that I know exists, and I'm really proud of each one. You know, it's unfortunate that the Muslim issue came up in the document, because I know some very fine Muslims who are, you know, here to have a better life in the United States, and are doing that, and they're fine, law-abiding people, as far as I know. So, you're all very important, whatever background you have, and I'm sure that Heidi would tell you that. But thank you for coming tonight. I haven't decided how I'm going to vote. I'm probably going to vote against this for the reasons that all of you put so well. But Heidi has worked so hard, and we need her. She's a go-getter, and she has talent, and she's a good city council lady. Thank you.
Probably some of the nicer things I've heard over the last week or so. I want to let you know that in the absence of leadership from Austin, in the absence of Austin interjecting itself into this space between the federal encroachment into our communities, counties and cities across the state are desperate. They see what's happening, they know what it will cost, and they are desperate for leadership. I have been contacted by multiple municipalities and counties that are seeking input on how they can contain this problem within their own communities, knowing that it is dropping like a bomb. And so, with that said, I want you to know that Galveston County, of which League City is a part, passed a resolution based on this one just this afternoon at 2 p.m. To other counties and municipalities as they see the stand and they see the reason and logic behind it. They absolutely understand the governance necessary in a crisis situation. These are hard tasks and these are hard decisions. And I thank you, those of you from both pro and con, for sharing your thoughts tonight. It's far more than what the federal government would have given you or allowed for you to have. So thank you again for coming tonight.
Okay, nobody else is on the queue, so we're in the voting part. Executive session, not a good time for people that want to leave.